and welcome back. For today's video, I have a brand new launch by Colourpop. It is their Disney Villains collaboration palette called Misunderstood. They came out with such a huge collection for this collaboration. It is so crazy, and I actually only ended up picking up the palette for myself. I did go in stores to the Ulta and check out the display they had there. They didn't sell any of the items individually, but I'm gonna throw some images up on the screen here because they had lipsticks, lip glosses, highlighters, the eyeshadow palette, they had the Jelly Much shadows, and I believe they had some body glitter, hair glitter also. So it was a huge range of products, and inside of the Ulta, you were able to go inside and see the palette for itself and the separate little Disney villain collections that they had individually. It came with a trio of a highlighter, the lip gloss, and a lipstick. So I did swatch out all of the highlighters, which are of the Super Shock formula. So it is one of those putty feeling, soft touch shadows. They looked really beautiful, really wearable. Some of them looked a little bit more glittery than the others. I'm sorry, the pictures aren't the greatest. The lighting in Ulta is not exactly my beauty room setup. And then I did swatch out all of the lipsticks and the lip glosses. The ones in which you're seeing right now, they are lined up next to the ones in which they're supposed to be paired with. It was a pretty range of lipsticks and lip glosses. I did think they paired them up really nicely along with the highlighters. Of course, looking at these, you guys could probably tell which one I would lean for. The one that is the third one down, the more neutral toned one, is of the Hades collection. I honestly debated picking that one up because it did look really beautiful, but I did stop myself. I had to look at it a little bit more objectively and take away the Disney villain part of it. Taking away the packaging and all of that, I had to look at the shades on their own, and I was just like, you know what, I have a lot of neutrals, I have a lot of these same shades, I'm gonna skip it. So I ended up only grabbing the palette for that reason. So let me get into the item that I did pick up. So here is the palette. It comes with 15 shades, 5 of which are matte, 10 are shimmers and metallics. This baby retails for $22, so I do believe this is of their most expensive palette. It also doesn't have a mirror inside of here, which is a little bit like, I was hoping for that price point there was at least gonna be a mirror in here, but there wasn't. I wish they would have done that. Really gorgeous packaging of this. I love the vibe that it is giving. I'm definitely getting the Disney villain spirit with this. I do want to give you guys some swatches of these shades. So I'm gonna swatch them out really quickly on my arm. I'm not gonna do any live swatching just to save a little bit of time. Here is the entire palette swatched out, and I just went row by row, swatching it out from left to right. Whoops, there's the palette so you can see. And these shades do look gorgeous. They all have a Disney villain theme name, which is really fun too. Like this one is No Spots, this one is 101, so you can tell who that is. But these shades do look really beautiful. I'll just point out the matte shades. The rest, I mean, you guys can tell are the shimmers. So we have one over here, 2 right here in the middle, and the blue, and then the black here on the end. Those are the mattes, and the rest are the shimmers. So with such a range of colors and so many things to play with and create, I wanted to do something a little bit different, which I've actually done a few videos like this now, and you guys really enjoy it, so I thought, why not make this video the same? I'm gonna do 2 eyeshadow looks with this palette. One a little bit more wearable, so if you want to see if you can create something a little bit more neutral and everyday-like, then I have one eyeshadow look for that, and then the second eyeshadow look is going to be more villain inspired, which is actually this eyeshadow look here. It is a little bit of a Hades kind of Ursula vibe, so I thought it would be fun to just show you guys 2 different things that you could do with this palette, show you some versatility with it maybe. That is the game plan. I'm going to show you guys that first, and then I will tell you guys my final thoughts. So let's go ahead and jump into eyeshadow look number 1, which is the more everyday eyeshadow look. So let's do it. First eyeshadow look with the palette. I did already prime my eyes. You guys know Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion and in. The first shade I'm gonna be taking is the shade Tragic. I'm gonna be using this on my Sigma E40 brush and just working this shade into the crease. It is a very light color, but I want some level of transition in here since the palette doesn't have that many matte shades, so I'm just starting out with this one. And I'm gradually building that color up, dipping back and forth a few times. Same color, I'm just gonna take that shade all the way across on the lower lash line with the Moda medium eye shader. Gonna make sure I bring it all the way across on the lower lash line and just connect it out in the outer V area. Then dipping back into the palette, I'm gonna take the shade over here called Devious, another matte shade. Taking that on my Sephora crease brush, and I'm starting to work it just out here in the outer V at first, building up that color a little bit, and then starting to extend it into the crease. Switching brushes now to the E55, I'm just gonna take that same shade on the lower lash line, but bringing it in only like 2/3 of the way on the lower lash line here. I'm just blending that out. Making sure I also connect that up out here to the little swoop that we are creating. Now we're just gonna go straight for that black shade, the shade 101. Dalmatians. Taking that on my Morphe Y19 brush, and I'm just gonna lightly pack that black shade right out here in the outer V, building it up gradually so as it doesn't overpower. Better to start out slowly than go in too heavy. Picking up just a little bit more, just kind of nuzzling it in here. Once I'm happy with the amount I have packed on, I'll switch to my E36 brush and use this to blend that shade. I find that it's a lot easier going in with a separate brush to blend out a black shade, because otherwise, I mean, that black is gonna be transferred into everything, and all of that groundwork you laid down is gonna get a little bit lost. So if you take a brush separate from the packing brush, it's a lot easier to work with. So I'm just using this to do a little tiny blending circles and bring it in just a teeny tiny bit into the crease here and help give it its shape a little bit out here in the outer V too. And then I'll just take a teeny bit of that black shade on the same brush and just work it in the lower lash line, just bringing in like 1/3 of the way just to connect out here to that outer V. Give it that little smoky effect. Ooh, yes. There we go. Next, I'm gonna go straight into that shimmery shade. I'm not gonna cut the crease. I'm gonna take Diablo right over here, this beautiful green shade. This one legit feels like butter. I'm still gonna give it a little bit of a spritz just to help it out a little. I'll just be taking that on my Makeup Geek foiled eyeshadow brush. But the shade is stunning. And then once that lid color is laid down, I will help merge it in with that outer V shade. So I'm just taking a little bit of that Devious shade, which was the brick red shade, patting it a little bit over the edges here with the E45 brush. And then I'll go back in with the E36 and run that along the edges here, just so we make sure everything is merging together. All that's left now is to take a little bit of inner corner highlight. I'm taking the shade Mongrels on my little pencil brush, popping that in the inner corner just to give a little pop of something. And a little bit just right up here for the brow bone too. With the shimmery shades, you do get a little bit of fallout, so if you do have foundation on, maybe put a little bit of powder to just kind of help catch everything. It's not a crazy amount of fallout, but there is some sprinkles that will fall down and leave you some glittery effect down below, so just keep that in mind. To help add to the drama, I'm going to be giving it a wing using the NYX Epic Ink liner to help create that. With the wing liner on, I just need to pop on some mascara and some lashes. I'm gonna do that off camera because you guys see me do it all the time. Nothing special. I'm just gonna be using the NYX Worthy Hype mascara and the Violet Voss Just Slayin' lashes. Here we have it, the completed first look. Now let's go ahead and move on to the second. For this eye look, I did take some preparations. I did put a layer of powder underneath since we're messing around with the blue shade. I honestly didn't have that much fallout going on this eye. I did make sure I really tapped off my brush, but this is just as a precaution since I do have the rest of my makeup on. I don't want it to accidentally fall down, because if you get blue on your foundation, that is one of the trickiest things to remove from the foundation. You will have a darker under eye. I've had it happen before, so not again. I did also prep my eyelid with the same primer as yesterday, so let's just go ahead, get into this eye look. The shade I'm gonna get started with first is No Spots, this matte white shade, and I'm just gonna pack that on to the lid. It helps give a really good base for this blue that we are about to go in. I take it all the way up, even to the brow bone. Helps to set the primer too, just make sure blending is smooth. Just gives you a super good base to work with. Because I'm gonna go in dark. I'm going straight away with the Fates, this dark navy blue with my Sigma E36 brush. And since this is a halo eye, I'm just getting started right away, creating that half a circle shape, laying down the outline first. Once that base shape is on, I just start packing on more of that dark blue shade, just really intensifying things. And I'm just gonna be using the E36 for all of the moves I'm gonna make with this blue shade. It's the perfect brush to use for it since it is such a small little blending brush. This shade isn't gonna get away from you as it would with a really large fluffy blending brush. So it just gives you a lot more precision when you're working with this shade. Just going back and forth, packing on a little bit more color, working that in. I'm just really wanting to lay that color down and pack it on as much as I can first. Because once it's all packed on, and I've gone through it a few times, swiping back and forth, taking no extra product, I'm gonna use this brush to just run it along the edges and blend it up and out. So it takes a little minute to just sit here and kind of blend it out, but I do it so gradually and gently that it takes me a minute. Just want to ensure blendability because I don't want to bring up that color too high. Just want to fluff it up and out. And honestly, I mean, look at that. No fallout, actually. I didn't even need that powder layer. I just put it there really as a precaution, so that's freaking awesome too. Especially with such a dark color, usually there's a little bit of fallout no matter what, so I am pleasantly surprised here. And then if you feel like you want to deepen up this little halo part right here, just take a little bit more blue with the same brush and just whisk it in here in case you just want to intensify it a little bit more. Boom! The hard part is done. It's super simple. Now we can actually move on to cutting the crease. I'm going to take a little bit of my Tarte Shape Tape in Fair Beige, just plop it on the back of my hand here, just a little bit. And then I'll just take my concealer brush and start cutting out the halo shape. And then once you have the shape of the halo eye, I just like to take something a little bit fluffy and just pat out the edges of the concealer. This is just the Y20 brush by Morphe. It's a fluffy little dome brush. You could even use your fingertip if you wanted to. And then we'll do some detailing afterwards, but now we're gonna take this shade down here called Jet Sam. And I'm just taking my fingertip and I'm gonna plop this all over where we cut that halo shape out. It's one of those interesting shades where it looks really blue in a certain point, but when you shift it, it does have a little bit of a darker color. So it's like it has a purple, a really dark purple. Oh, you can kind of see it when you angle it this way. A dark purple with a blue shift. So it's a pretty cool shade. I'm just placing that all over the lid. And I'm not really worried about wetting it and putting on with a foiled brush because I'm gonna top another shade on it, which is gonna be this shade over here called Flotsam? Flotsam? I have no idea how you say that. That one with my fingertip also, I'm just gonna top that over that same shade. It adds such a cool effect. I mean, just look at that, because on its own, it's a light kind of pink, purple, reflective shade, but just when these two are combined, whew, gorgeous. With that on, we're gonna do some detailing. So you guys should already know I'm gonna bust out this brush right here and go back into the Fates shade. This is the Sigma E17 brush, which is a flat water liner brush, but I use it to help cut out my halo shape almost every single time. Best brush for this technique, and I just run it along the edges, and it just really helps to define things, because sometimes you can lose a little bit of that shape when you go in with a shimmer. So this just brings that intensity back so you get that shape. Then we're gonna take the E36 brush again, and without adding any more color, I'm just gonna run it along the edge there where I use that other brush, E17. And then now I will dip into just a little bit more of that Fates shade and run it along the edges of the shimmery shades, just so everything starts merging and blending. And then to just add a splash more of intensity, I'm gonna go in with the shade 101. Taking that on my Sigma E30 brush, and I'm just gonna place a little bit out here in the outer V and the inner corner area. Not bringing it all the way into the inner corner, just like slightly right before it. Just packing a little bit of that black shade, just like that. And then switching back to the brush I was just using, the little fluffy blending brush, to blend it up and out. Super easy and fun. Now let's whisk away the under eye powder and move on to the lower lash line. I'm going back in with the shade Fates. I'm gonna take the E36 and just go straight in on that lower lash line, and I'm gonna drag this color all the way across. I'm using the same method as I did up top, packing on the color first really close to that lower lash line, and then I'm gonna use the same brush with no extra product and just blend it out. That is actually it for the shadow underneath. Super simple. Now we're just gonna add a fun little touch. This is the Mood Crayons by Linda Hallberg. Look at these beautiful shades. I am going in with the Cool Mood little crayon. It's a super beautiful blue for the under eye, and I've been experimenting a little bit more with these, and it's really fun. So I'm just gonna take a little sponge, hold the lower lash line, and just go in with this color. This looks so creepy on camera. It's such a nice little touch. I've been really enjoying these little crayons. Ooh, and then we're almost done. I'm gonna take the same shade I used as the all over the lid topper, go in the inner corner with just a little pencil brush here. Also take a little bit of that shade on the brow bone and just give it a little bit of a highlight moment. Oh yes, and then it's just to finish off with a little bit of mascara, some lashes. I'm gonna use the exact same stuff as I did yesterday, so I will be right back. Here is the completed villain eye look that is a little bit Hades, maybe some Ursula inspired too, eye look. So now that you have seen me create both eye looks, the more wearable one and the more Disney villain inspired one, let me jump into telling you guys my final thoughts on this palette. I think if you take away the whole packaging and it being the Disney Villains collection, I think the colors are really beautiful, but there is something missing, and I think that is matte shades. Because you get 15 shades in here, but 10 are shimmers and metallics. The rest, the 5 left over, is just the matte shades, and I feel like there is a little bit missing in terms of transition. You have these shades right here that you can work with and blend, maybe the shade 2, but really more of a base shade, and then you have to go pretty dark pretty fast. So I feel like I was missing 1, maybe 2 more shades that could help blend things out and create some different looks. Because the shimmers are great and all, but you need some mattes in there to help bring some versatility into this palette, because otherwise it is very dark, which I realize is the inspiration for the Disney villains, but I don't think everyone is gonna go Disney villain every single day. You need something that is gonna be a little bit more wearable, which is why I wanted to do that one everyday kind of look. I would honestly see myself reaching for this palette and another one to work in with it, because I just feel like I need more shades to blend with. The shades that are in here are really gorgeous though. They are very pigmented. I mean, this blue, it's honestly one of the best navy blue shades that I have tried. So awesome formula right there. As far as the shimmery shades, I did really enjoy the formula. Some of them are a little bit more metallic-y and shimmery than the others. Like this green over here that I used the first day is gorgeous and foiled. I was actually able to use this without cutting the crease, which was really nice. But then when I went into this one over here called Pain and Panic, I had tried to do the same thing and put it over the lid, and it just did not work. I had to cut the crease to work with this shade and then really layer on that color in order to build it up. Whereas with this lime shade, I could just go like boop, one swipe and done. So I feel like some formulas are a little bit better than the others. So just keep that in mind, different formulas in some of these that are a little bit more intense, some are a little bit more subtle. But overall, I do have to say that it was a really beautiful palette. I did enjoy it. I will be using it again. I just probably will be combining it with another palette so that way I have more matte shades to work with. So that is gonna be where I wrap things up for this 2 eyeshadow look palette review on the new Colourpop Misunderstood palette. I really hope that you guys enjoyed seeing me create these 2 looks. If you did, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that little bell button. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!